There's a strange and ugly thing that happens when religion and power intertwine. The sacred and profane merge into a spectacle, a bastardized faith wielded not as a moral compass but as a cudgel. And no name has been more shamelessly twisted and contorted in service of nationalist propaganda than that of Jesus Christ. He was in life a radical, a man of the people, a brown-skinned, penniless prophet who spoke out against wealth and power, who dined with the unwanted, healed the sick without charging a dime, and spoke scornfully of those who made public theater of their righteousness. His words, blessed are the peacemakers, love thy neighbor, and the meek shall inherit the earth, are a damnation of empire, of greed, and of cruelty. He flipped the money changers' tables in the temple, condemning the commercialization of faith, and yet in America his name has been hijacked and repurposed to bless the very evils he stood against. The American nationalist movement has performed a stunning alchemy, transforming the figure of Christ from a revolutionary into a corporate logo, a golden calf for power-hungry politicians to parade before the masses. His image has been stripped of its historical truth and replaced with that of a flaxen-haired, blue-eyed warlord who waves the banner of empire. This isn't Christ of Nazareth, this is Jesus Christ's trademark. A brand, a mascot of the Christian right, devoid of teachings, devoid of substance, reduced to three things: opposition to abortion, opposition to gay rights, and absolute loyalty to authority. You see, the machine of power does not care about faith, it cares about control. And nothing controls a population more effectively than fear and moral panic. This is why morality is legislated in broad strokes, why the government, in the name of Christian values, seeks dominion over wombs, over libraries, over classrooms, and over marriage. It is not faith but fear that fuels the fire. The belief that America must be saved from the corruption of modernity, that there is an enemy in every shadow: the immigrant, the teacher, the scientist, the journalist, the liberal, and the non-believer. A nation ruled by clerics is a nation without freedom. And make no mistake, what the nationalists seek is theocratic rule, a government shaped not by the Constitution, but by the whims of a twisted and hollowed-out Christianity. History provides no example of religious governance that led to liberty. The Puritans who fled persecution in Europe imposed the same upon others when the moment they found soil to claim. The Inquisition tortured men in the name of Christ, and the Taliban governs with absolute piety and absolute tyranny, proving that divine law and human rights cannot coexist. And Christ himself warned against the dangers of ostentatious religion. Beware of practicing your righteousness before others in order to be seen by them, he said. But the modern American right has no need for the words of Christ when they have the cash flow of megachurches. Televangelists, the prosperity gospel preachers, the men with stadium-sized pulpits and private jets. They cry persecution while amassing fortunes that Christ himself would have condemned. And that is not faith, that is theater. It is performative piety designed to convince the masses that the wealthy and the powerful act with God's authority. You see, a pious man in rags is ignored, but a politician who leads a prayer circle before gutting social welfare programs is cheered. This is the con. It's always been the con. It is the same con that justifies war under the banner of Christianity while children starve and die in detention camps. The same con that shrieks about the sanctity of life in the womb but scoffs at feeding the poor. The same that turns the most powerful political figures in the country into hand-wringing martyrs every time they're held accountable for their crimes. These men do not serve God, they serve power. And no law should exist to legislate morality, because morality, real morality, cannot be imposed by force. A society ruled by dictated virtue will always breed oppression. And the question will always remain, who decides? Who determines what's moral enough, Christian enough, godly enough? There will always be a priest, a politician, a fanatic eager to claim the role of moral arbiter, and they will always demand more purity, more obedience, more sacrifice of personal freedom for the illusion of righteousness. This is why the law must exist, not to enforce faith, but to guarantee freedom. A free society does not dictate belief, it allows the believer to believe, the atheist to reject, the agnostic to question. It does not force prayer into school, nor does it forbid it. It does not demand fealty to a God nor condemnation of one. It recognizes that faith belongs to the heart, to the soul, and not to the legislature. Law should not be written in Scripture. Law should be written to uphold the rights of all people, to live, to work, to breathe, to pursue happiness, and to be free in mind and body. No law should infringe upon these unless to prevent the infringement of another. That is justice. That is freedom. That is what a moral government would pursue. But a moral government is not what nationalists want. They want control. You see, the Jesus they preach is no Messiah of love and forgiveness, no prophet of the downtrodden. He is a weapon, a branding tool, a deity sculpted into the image of his followers rather than the other way around. They worship a God of wrath, of nationalism, of conquest, a God who looks like them, thinks like them, and hates like them. It is heresy, of course, but that word no longer holds weight when uttered by those who twist faith to their convenience. You see, the real Christ, the one who spoke of peace, of justice, of lifting up the poor, would be a heretic to them. They would call him a Marxist, a socialist, a radical. They would cast him out of their churches, dismiss him from their rallies, and demand his arrest for preaching against the rich and the powerful. The modern nationalist movement has no use for the real Jesus. He does not serve their agenda. And if history tells us anything, it is this: false idols fall. The empire always crumbles. And those who build their kingdom on fear, on control, on deception, will find that their kingdom was never eternal to begin with. Defiance till death, y'all.